Hello there everyone, welcome back to Jack Talks Star Wars, and in today's video I've got a bit of a shorter one, but we're going to be talking about a little theory I have about where we could end up in the Mandalorian Season 2. Now if you're not already subscribed, feel free to, if you want to stay up to date on my Mandalorian Explained series and other videos I've got to come, make sure you subscribe, notification bell, all that stuff that YouTubers like to go on about. I guess do it. Anyway, on to the video. So, I have a theory about where we may end up towards the end of this season of Mandalorian. Now, obviously we've got 2 episodes left, and this could happen in either or. My bet would be last episode. I think that we could end up on KAMINO. Now, if you don't know where KAMINO is, it's the planet where the clone army was created, where obviously Jango Fett was. So here's my thinking. If the idea that Grogu is being used in some form of cloning, be that for them trying to make a Palpatine or them trying to make a Snoke or something of that, could they be doing it on KAMINO? Could we go back to KAMINO, and maybe they won't have the Kaminoans there, maybe it'll just be Empire troops and scientists there, but could we end up going back to KAMINO where the cloning was in the first place in the prequels and before that was all set in motion? What if now we go back to KAMINO and this is where they're really starting their cloning process? I think that could be an interesting choice because, one, the planet's interesting. It's a very water heavy planet and you've got those few select areas. And also, Boba would be returning. Boba's someone who knows where KAMINO is. Now, KAMINO, if I remember correctly, it's the Emperor took it off of star charts and took it off of maps. Just basically erased the thing, so people didn't know where it was. So they couldn't get to any information that might be there. So, Boba being someone who knows where KAMINO is, then perhaps when they spring Mayfeld and then they're looking to track Moff Gideon's cruiser, they find out they're on KAMINO, but they don't know how to get to KAMINO. And maybe Boba, because he knows where KAMINO is, because he's been there, that's where he grew up as a young kid before he ended up leaving and Jango Fett was killed. That's where he was, so he would know where it is. So maybe Boba is the one who gets them there. And then you've got Boba returning almost to his home, because that's where he was born. I think it could be interesting. It's certainly out there. I'm not sure if that would happen, because I'm not sure that's where Moff Gideon's going to be leaving his light cruiser. And it's quite a big, I was going to say factory, not really a factory, but it's a big area for what you'd think would be a small operation with Grogu. It wouldn't take up the entire facility, but maybe that's all they need. Maybe they just need that one facility, and that's what they're putting all of their focus into. This could be completely wrong. Grogu could not even be used for cloning, but it would seem that that's the way, because I can't remember if this is correct or not, but I feel like I saw on Dr. Pershing's on one of his shoulders, he had a logo that was fairly similar to one of the logos you see in the prequels on KAMINO. So maybe he was a scientist back there in one of those divisions. You'd think he'd be older though, so that doesn't really come together. But I think in general KAMINO could be a cool place to go. Another idea you could have is, Moff Gideon calls Grogu a donor. Now, what does that mean? What a donor for? What is he? Because we know from Legends material that cloning a Force user is not easy, and it's not like cloning a Jango Fett, where you can reproduce them and get loads of them. There were clones of Force users, but they weren't. It was extremely difficult to get them, and they often didn't work very well. And obviously you see that Snoke was a failed clone of Palpatine, or he was just, you know, these clones of especially Darkseid users, they don't work very well. You know, the clone of Palpatine in Rise that we see is decaying, it's gross, you know, the fingers are all falling apart, he's being held up by this huge life system rig. It's not permanent. And in Legends there was I think they were cloning Maul. I mean, imagine if that's what they were trying to do, right? Trying to clone a Maul. That would be crazy. I don't think they'd do that, but that's the kind of things that we're looking at that would be crazy if they were to bring them in, because Filoni and Favreau have been bringing in a lot of Legends material, so there's things that they can do that, you know, it's crazy, but they can do it. You know, the Dark Troopers, they're kind of crazy, but they brought them in, and they make them seem like they fit in the universe. There's some things that are, you know, like the Uson Vong, I think that you're getting too crazy at that point. I think at that point you'd have to nerf them, you know, because it's the same with, kind of the same with Luke. Obviously Luke is extremely powerful because he's the son of the Chosen One, but there comes a point where in your show or film, you can't have people who are too overpowered, because then you have to create a crux for them to be beaten, otherwise what's the point in having them? So for things like if you wanted Starkiller, if you wanted him, you have to nerf him, unfortunately, because the character in the games, he's so powerful. You know, he can go toe to toe and beat Vader. That's not, you know, if you were to have that in the films, it wouldn't, you wouldn't feel the same way that you do in the game, because it's a game, you know. I think that he's the sort of character that everyone would love to see. You'd love to see him in there, but he'd be too powerful if he was the same as he was in Force Unleashed and Force Unleashed 2. But yeah, KAMINO. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, whether you think we could end up on KAMINO, or whether you think we'll go somewhere else. And also, let me know who you think the Jedi that Grogu was communicating with was. Who do you think it was? Do you think it was maybe Luke? Maybe Cal Kestis? Maybe Ezra? Maybe someone else? Maybe someone who's on the dark side? You don't know? I don't know. That's going to do it for today's video, guys. I will see you on Saturday with my Mando Explained for Chapter 15.